You're listening to episode 195 of the Master Your Mind, Business, and Life podcast. Ooh, friends, I have some news to share with you today. I have been over the moon excited to finally share this with you in depth and give you all of the details behind it. Now, if you're new to the show, first of all, welcome. But secondly, you may not be aware that typically on Wednesdays, I hit you with a life mastery conversation with that week's featured world shifter, truth seeker, and rule breaker. Every so often, I slide in with a solo episode, typically after I've had my own personal aha moment or when I need to share something with you. Today is a little bit of both, and you'll see why shortly. This episode is brought to you by Spiritually Seeking. When you go to spiritually-seeking.com and enter the promo code PODCAST at checkout, you save 20% off your order of numerology reports, affirmation cards, card readings, and spiritual life guidance. Head over to spiritually-seeking.com and use the promo code PODCAST. As always, I love when you share that you're listening, so be sure to take a screenshot and share it to your Instagram or Facebook stories. Tag me in it at MindBizLife, and I'll reshare it. And if social media isn't your jam, share the episode with a friend or even leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you tune in and turn it up. Now that we've covered all that, are you ready to find out what this big news is that I have to share? You know what to do. Tune in, turn it up, let's go.
You're listening to Master Your Mind, Business, and Life. Conversations with everyday world shifters, truth seekers, and rule breakers. Here's your host, Lauren Smith.
Oh, friends, you know that these Wednesday solo episodes are few and far between, and that's because the calendar stays jam-packed with life mastery conversations that not only fuel your life, but they fuel mine as well. And speaking of fueling your life, in November 2019, I launched the Fuel Your Life Friday series. This series has been so much fun. I have loved providing this extra weekly series with bite-sized tips, tricks, and leveling up exercises to help you fuel your life. The series has provided me a way to bring you more solo episodes without taking on more than I can handle with my already super busy schedule. In the beginning of 2020, I shared that I was launching an entirely new podcast with my friend and mentor, Sherelle Turner. But as you can probably tell by now, that actually fell through as new business opportunities arose. But the basis of that podcast was to really go deeper on the spiritual journey. I haven't completely put that podcast idea to rest yet, but the premise of the spiritual journey and the soul's evolution just nagged at me all throughout the year when this podcast didn't come to fruition. In the fall of 2020, I woke up one morning and I just had that aha moment, that take your breath away, I just had a genius idea type of aha moment. And that was to bring you a new podcast series within the already established Master Your Mind, Business, and Life podcast. A series that shares stories from the soul. Stories that transform and enlighten. Stories that tug at your heartstrings while reminding you of your worth and encourage you to keep forging forward. You likely know this name, Maya Angelou, but you may not know her story. Maya Angelou was tragically raped at the age of 8 years old. Her rapist, who was found guilty, only spent 1 day in prison. And when he was released, he was murdered. But because of this, the then 8-year-old Maya Angelou became mute for almost 5 years, believing that her voice killed him. She was terrified that her voice would kill someone again. But as we know, Maya Angelou had a lot to say later in life as she became a pioneering voice for women and the Black community. One of Maya Angelou's famous quotes is, "There is no agony like bearing an untold story inside you." Now imagine a world without Maya Angelou, or without Stephen King, William Shakespeare, Virginia Woolf, J.K. Rowling, or hey, Eric Carle. Stories have power to shift generations, power to bring forth change, power to uplift, power to heal, power to manifest, power to resonate. They have the power to unburden and free your soul. Stories, quite simply, have the power to awaken you. That's why I am launching Awaken Your Soul Sunday, a storytelling series that share moments of awakening, trials and tribulations, truth and vulnerability in the words and voice of the featured storyteller. Each Sunday, you'll meet a new storyteller. These storytellers range from business owners to pro athletes to New York Times bestselling authors to the everyday, hardworking, beautiful human who has a story to share. Episodes range from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. We have stories of overcoming adversity, addiction, and illness, to uplifting stories that focus on kindness, compassion, faith, and love. These episodes will be marked with an abbreviation, AYS, before the episode title, just like the Fuel Your Life Friday is with FYLF. I probably would have done AYSS, but my youngest daughter, who's 6, told me that it looked like a bad word, and well, out of the mouth of babes, y'all. So we're just going to keep it AYS, Awaken Your Soul. Now, when I went to start this podcast nearly 3 years ago, I made a list of 10 people who I wanted to have on the podcast. I kind of called them like my dream team, or it was really just helping me visualize and manifest these people. I'm really proud to say that you have heard conversations from 8 out of those 10 people on my dream team list, and the 2 others who were on that list are actually joining us for the Awaken Your Soul Sunday series. One of these people is actually helping us launch the series with the first episode on Sunday, my grandfather. I knew his episode had to be the first one because he helped instill the love of stories in me, and he also consistently demonstrates the power of storytelling. When I was little, my maternal grandfather used to record himself reading books on cassette tapes. He'd give my sister and I these tapes, and I remember listening to them as almost bedtime stories. My grandfather, Clifford Stewart, is a fascinating man. Many moons ago, he retired from a 45-year career in direct mail and marketing and is now the owner of Quiet Meadow Farms, a grass-fed cattle farm in Western Maryland. He has served as a board member for many organizations, including the Calvert Memorial Hospital in Maryland, and in 2011, he was awarded the American Hospital Association Grassroots Champion Award, which recognizes hospital leaders who most effectively educate elected officials on how major issues affect the hospital's vital role in the community. After many hurricanes and other natural disasters, my grandfather packs up his van and he hits the road to deliver supplies to hard-hit areas on the East Coast. My grandfather is wildly devoted to his church and is a true servant of God. It's an honor to know him. It's an even bigger honor to be called his granddaughter. And the biggest honor yet is to have him share this space with me and get one of his many amazing stories out into the world. With this series, there really are no limits. There's no rules, no guidelines, or even a structure as to the way the story has to be told. It's really up to the storyteller and their creative way of how they want to share their story. So if you have a story burning inside of you and you want to shift the lives of others by sharing it while also raising your energetic vibration and leaning into the power of storytelling, then I invite you to join me for this series. Head over to mindbizlife.com, look for the Awaken Your Soul tab, and fill out the submission form. It's as easy as that. And if you'd rather get your dose of soul awakening stories without contributing your own story, that's quite all right. Just know that I would love for you to help me share this series. The first thing to do is hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever it is that you're tuning in from. That way you don't miss an episode. And next, share this series with a friend, whether that's on social media, through a text message, or simply word of mouth. You may never know which story your colleague, friend, or loved one may need to hear. And hey, just a little note. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for tuning in and turning up with me every week. I appreciate your willingness and your desire to master your life. And I appreciate the impact that you make on the world every single day, simply by being uniquely you. I am so excited to bring you episodes now every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday from here on out. So I'll see you back here on Friday for another episode of Fuel Your Life Friday, and then again on Sunday as we launch Awaken Your Soul Sunday. But until then, remember, every level of life is an opportunity to grow. Be well, my friend.